10 healthy habits for fat loss over the age of 50 and beyond. Hey everybody, Sophie here, standing in my kitchen, gonna go through 10 healthy habits for you to release fat off your body, particularly after the age of 50 and beyond. And honestly, before I get into this, it's super important that we frame our goals of what we want, particularly after the age of 50, as we don't want to lose weight, okay? So scale weight is not the most accurate measurement of what is going on. And frankly, after the age of 50, where you start losing muscle, really beautiful muscle mass, your bones get lighter and more brittle, women lose quite a high percentage, I think it's 13 pounds of muscle and bone by the time they get to the age of 60. We don't want to be losing that, do we? But what we do want to lose or release is fat. Fat stores visceral fat, and don't forget, visceral fat isn't just belly fat. Visceral fat is inside of you as well. It's literally in and around your organs, your pancreas, your liver, your internal organs, leading to metabolic disorders. And you can actually be relatively slim, but still have visceral fat. But ultimately, I think what all of us want, certainly after the age of 50, when we're postmenopausal, we actually want to obviously be as healthy as we can be. And we want to change our body composition, most of us. We want to be in the best possible shape, which is regardless of we all come in different beautiful shapes and sizes, and lucky you if you've got beautiful curves, and some of us are petite, and we're all these different beautiful shapes and sizes. But ultimately, you want to think back to your waist hip ratio. And you can very easily remember that to like what jean size were you wearing when you were a young adult, when you were about 21 or 22, if in fact at that time you were, feeling good and at your ideal weight. And anything that you put on beyond that is, unfortunately, it's fat. And so that's kind of a bit of a wake-up call to go, okay, in that case, what can I do to reduce this fat that isn't healthy? Obviously, it's not healthy for your heart, it's not healthy for your brain, it's not healthy for visceral fat is the least healthy. It's an organ in of itself, visceral fat, and it's highly inflammatory. So let's get into it. 10 quick healthy habits, and I'll do this as quickly as I can. So number one is develop a better sleep hygiene, because if you are getting less than 7 hours sleep a night, it is going to affect your ability to lose fat. It just will. When you're not getting enough sleep, number one, very important functions like clearing of the brain, clearing and reparation of your gut, it's very unlikely that that's going to happen unless you are getting deep sleep, and again, at least 7 hours sleep. But in terms of gaining fat, when we don't have enough sleep, we're much more likely to start reaching for high caloric foods during the day without even really thinking about it, because you're tired, you're depleted. It adds to more chronic stress, and there's a direct correlation between chronic stress and gaining belly fat. So with clients who come to work with me, one of the first things that we look at sort of everything really as a holistic whole, which is why I'm not a huge fan of just take this one thing or do this one thing or take this supplement or drug or injection, whatever else, because it's your holistic lifestyle that not only leads to you being in the best shape of your life and being in optimal health and preventing disease, but also, being happy and rested and glowing and radiant and everything that you want to feel. So that's really where I come from. That really is my holistic approach to pretty much everything. But one of the first questions I ask my clients is, how much sleep are you getting? And it is a tricky thing, because after menopause or post-menopause or post the time that you start, it can happen in perimenopause, your sleep often becomes interrupted. Maybe you need to go and use the restroom a lot more during the night. Maybe you're tossing and turning and you're getting hot and cold. Maybe you've got severe hot flashes. Maybe you've got high cortisol levels at night that you just can't switch off your mind. You can't go to sleep, or you go to sleep and then you wake up at 3 in the morning and you can't go back to sleep. So there's many different factors that come into play when we start developing better sleep hygiene. And it's not only going to bed at the same time every night, if you can, going to bed a little bit earlier, the usual things that you hear, like switching, off devices. It's also what you do in the day, interestingly, and what time you get up in the morning and the activities that you do during the day that lead to getting a better night's sleep. So I always say to all my clients, nighttime routine governs morning routine, and morning routine dictates nighttime routine. So you need to have both those dialed in so that you are getting adequate rest and adequate sleep. Number 2 is align your circadian rhythms. So your circadian rhythms, we all have it's almost another way of saying this is a sort of clock that you have inside of you. It's almost like, I think of my puppies, actually my dogs, and they have these, it's almost like they have a little internal clock, right? That at certain times during the day, like at 12:30, it's lunchtime for them, because that's when my husband eats lunch. So whatever happens, they all suddenly leap out of their beds at 12:30, because when he has lunch, he gives them a little snack. 4 o'clock every afternoon, they come, wherever they are, they come running to find us. They like going to bed at the same time every single night in the same place. So they have this sort of inbuilt, obviously they can't read a clock, but it's just part of who they are. And so when we develop these habits, these regular habits, these circadian rhythms, and if we align them with the day and night and cycles of light during the day, then you are going to feel so much better. You are going to sleep better. Your food will be digested properly. Again, you won't be so more inclined to reach for high caloric foods and ultra processed foods. Number 1 and 2, the sleep and the circadian rhythms go really very much hand in hand. But what I want you to think about with your circadian rhythms is also think about fasting. So I do recommend some kind of intermittent fasting, really over the night. So I recommend the kind of intermittent fasting that isn't forced into these kind of weird eating windows. It's like we want to go with what is natural. And what is natural for us is really not to eat about at least 3 hours before you go to sleep. Because when you go to sleep, you're not digesting your food. You will sleep so much better. And then you sleep during the night and you're not eating anything. So 12 to 14 hours fasting overnight is incredibly helpful, along with your sleep hygiene, along with making sure that you are aiming towards getting at least 7 hours sleep a night. If you dial those 2 things in, getting at least 7 hours, I would say 8 to 9 is probably better, but at least 7 hours sleep a night, and some of that sleep really being that deep REM sleep, uninterrupted sleep. And you start dialing in your circadian rhythm, so you're doing an overnight fast, you're getting up early enough in the morning, as soon as you get up in the morning, or as soon as you can, you're getting daylight in your eye, because that will prompt a cortisol release, which is what you want first thing in the morning to get you going. People think cortisol is a bad thing. It's actually not. It's only deleterious in terms of belly fat and weight loss when it's all over the place, when you can barely get up in the morning, you need 3 cups of coffee to get going, and then at night your mind is racing. That's when your cortisol levels are all upside down. So we want to regulate circadian rhythms, which helps regulate cortisol, which helps you to sleep better. Those are 2 massively important pieces. And if you get those dialed in, then you will feel better during the day. You will feel more relaxed. You'll have less chronic stress. You'll feel more yourself. And then you'll be much more inclined to want to eat really healthy foods, to have the time and energy to prepare healthy foods, to even think it through, without like, I just got to get through the day. Those 2 pieces of the puzzle cannot be underestimated. Okay, let's go to number 3, is neat training. This is a habit that I want you to get into, NEAT. NEAT stands for non-exercise energy thermogenesis, and it's exercise without actually exercising. Because over the age of 50, you will start getting more sedentary. Everybody does without even realizing it. When you're younger, you're running around more, you've got younger kids, you've got toddlers, and you've got younger kids, and you're running from here to there and might be having a job that's a little bit more active and going out more. You are moving more. Very often, something happens called weight creep, which slowly, it's maybe a pound this year, 2 pounds the next, 3 pounds. And again, although I don't focus so much on scale weight, you can relate this to you're gaining a little bit more fat, a little bit more fat, a little bit more fat, because you are becoming more sedentary. And think about it, I have my clients almost do an inventory. How many hours a day are you actually sat down? On a chair, on a desk, on a couch, in a car seat? How many hours compared to the hours that you're actually really, really moving your body? So you want to start looking at that and then asking yourself, okay, how can I get this non-exercise movement into my day? And what I would say is literally every hour you need to be moving your body, every single hour during the day, at least. So if you have a desk job, a sedentary job, you're sitting around a little bit more, start setting timers, set reminders. Oh, this is my time that and stick to it. Be really disciplined about it. I need to get up and move. Now, NEAT exercise, the good news is it's not like you have to go in your running shoes and go running or suddenly pick up weights. You can do things like, I do so much during the day, I'm sort of never stopping, but I get a lot done because I work from home. So my NEAT exercise can be cleaning. It'll be like, okay, I need to vacuum the floors right now. I've got 10 minutes. I'm going to vacuum like crazy. My heart rate is up. I'm moving my body. I'm getting functional exercise. It can be vacuuming. It can be mopping. It can be cleaning windows. It can be doing some gardening. It can be picking up leaves from outside. It can be, rushing to the store and then parking really far away from the store, letting other people have the things close by, and walking to the store, getting my cart and actually taking it back to put it in the place, even that it's more exercise. So anything that you can do to get more movement in, because you have to believe that you will. People say, oh, I guess I'm slowing, it's age, I'm slowing it down. And I'm going to call BS on that. It doesn't have to be that way. You can move more and you need to. So every hour during the day. That is number 3. Number 4 is training, weight training. You will hear me say this in almost every single video I do pertaining to fat loss, health, post-menopause, have the best menopause, get into the best shape of your life, slow down, osteopenia, osteoporosis, almost every subject matter. As a board-certified nutritionist and everything that I do, I help women over the age of 45, and I take it so seriously because my clients want to see incredible results. And they want to feel strong and powerful and feel beautiful and healthy in their bodies. It's not going to happen unless they start doing resistance training and weight training and really going for it. Most women can do way more than they think they can. So put away your 50 and fabulous, little pink weights, ladies, because that is not going to cut it. Walking 10,000 steps a day, great, do all that. There's nothing wrong. Make those ones part of your, almost like your non-exercise exercise. You're having some fun, but you are going to have to really dial in weight training, meaning you're putting a heavy enough load on your muscles that you are taking your muscles to fatigue, whatever muscle group you are working on, whether it's biceps, we want to think of those big muscle groups like your biceps, your triceps, particularly your lower body. That's where you really want to be doing your heavy lifting. And oftentimes less is more, but with a heavier weight. You can do it both ways. You can do more reps to take yourself to fatigue, but very often for those of us who, have a little bit more of a challenge with time, I say to my clients, you don't have to do an hour in the gym. You can do 15 minutes at home, as long as you've got good form and you're lifting heavy enough weights, okay? But weight training, resistance training is absolutely non-negotiable for changing body composition, along with these other things that I'm going over. That's number 4. Number 5 is healthy habit is ditch the alcohol. So no amount of alcohol is healthy for a woman, really, certainly who's postmenopausal. We metabolize alcohol completely differently. Even 2 units of alcohol a day, that could be 2 glasses of wine a day, puts you at way higher risk, 40% higher risk of breast cancer. It's just not a great idea to be drinking alcohol. I mean, bar the odd special occasion when you're toasting, you know, special occasion with a glass of champagne, a couple of sips of champagne or whatever it is, you know, fine. But I'm talking about that sort of regular habit of, oh, I have, you know, a glass of wine every night or cocktails every Friday or something like that. You really want to ditch that. It's not going to do you any favors. The other thing, the most significant thing, and this is very specific to women over the age of 50, is that drinking alcohol will interrupt your sleep. It will massively degrade your ability to have deep, restful sleep. And so not a good idea. Try and eliminate or at least minimize as much as possible your alcohol intake. That is number 5. Number 6 is avoid comparing yourself. Now, there's 2 things that I want you to avoid comparing. One is comparing your now body to your younger body. I hear it all the time, women going, but I used to eat this and exercise this and and I used to be in good shape and I used to have motivation and I used to eat sort of healthy, and now I'm still eating that same food or exercising that same way, and suddenly I've got all this belly fat and nothing's working anymore. You cannot compare your 30 or even your 40-year-old body with your 50 or 60-year-old body. Why? Because your hormones are completely different. Your estrogen levels have plummeted. Everything is different. You are going to have to make changes. So don't compare it. Just go, this is where I am now. I happen to be 60. I turned 60 this year, and it's like, this is it. You know, I am 60. This is where my hormones are. I know where they are because of my blood work. I know what's going on, and I know what has to happen as a result, which basically means I need a completely different strategy to even the strategy that I had 10 years ago when I was 50. And I'll get to that in a moment, but don't compare. The other comparison is don't compare yourself to other women, because your fat release journey is your fat release journey, and it's going to happen in the time that it takes for you. And I know it's so hard on social media not to compare yourself. You know, everybody's showing their sort of best self and everything, whatnot on social media. But again, I cannot stress that we are all completely different shapes and sizes. And, you know, the women that I work with who, you know, have beautiful curves, and, you know, my daughter's, you know, extremely curvaceous, actually. I'm like, oh, she's so lucky. You know, she has a completely different body type to me. So don't compare body types. We are all different. You might look at me and go, look, you're tiny, and, you know, and I am, you know, I'm small, and, you know, I'm quite petite, and, you know, I've got relatively small hips. But it doesn't matter, you know, it's all relative. When I went into perimenopause, I started gaining fat around my midsection. I started gaining that belly fat. I measured my waist to hip ratio, and, you know, it wasn't going in the right direction. So I had to take the steps that I needed to take for me. You need to take the steps that you need to do for you. You know, it's really appreciating and loving your beautiful body that has got you this far. Maybe your body has given you beautiful children or whatever, but where we are now, we are just looking at, let's just release what doesn't need to be there for health and for your confidence, right, and feeling beautiful in clothes. Okay, so avoid those 2 comparisons. That's number 6. Number 7 is we're moving a little bit into diet now, being a board certified nutritionist. You know, that's a huge focus of mine. It is the heavy lifting. You can't out exercise a sort of less than, I was going to say a poor diet, but even a kind of okayish diet. Your diet really needs to change, particularly after the age of 50. So one of the things that you really want to look at is getting enough protein. You need to get enough protein. But the protein that you want to get protein primarily from whole sources, whole plant-based food sources. Why? Because pretty much all meat, you know, and most fish, but most meat contains quite a lot of saturated fat, even sort of lean chicken breast, modern day, the way it's processed and modified and all the rest of it. But you're better off having whole plant-based food sources of protein, because also the thermic effect, your body has to work hard to break these down. This creates a thermic effect. This is going to help you to release that fat. But You need to get enough. So some women who I hear who are like, oh, I've been whole food plant-based, or gone down that sort of route, vegetarian, vegan, or whatever, and it didn't really work for me. Well, it didn't work because you're not doing it in a really well-planned way where you are getting optimal amounts of protein, and you're absolutely going to need that, particularly as you get older. So optimal, and also one thing I want to quickly throw in here is that you might say to me, well, Sophie, what is the optimal amount for me? And I am very loath to throwing out numbers and figures and all of this because everybody is completely different. Every client I work with is different. It depends how old you are. It depends on how big you are. It depends on how much fat you've got to release. It depends on your activity level. It very much depends on your age. So somebody who's extremely athletic is going to have a different optimal than somebody who is only just getting into exercise. Somebody who's 75 needs a totally different protein intake to somebody who is 45. So a lot of what I do is so personalized because it actually depends. And then we get into the nuance even more because some women most women that I work with are very plant forward, eating, many want to be exclusively whole food plant based, and some have a little bit of fish. So it's, there's a lot of things that come into play here. But my point is, for number 7, is high protein from whole plant-based food sources is really where you want to start heading. Number 8 is meal prep. So to not be prepared is to prepare to fail. And so I know many of you, myself included, we are very busy women. I know many of you are holding down a full-time job, you're dealing with elderly parents. It's this age, right, that we're in right now, where suddenly there's a lot on our plate. So just kind of winging it just adds to even more stress and obviously poor food choices. I'm just going to grab what's convenient. So meal prep is a massive part of what I do with my clients. It's really changing your mindset also around meal prep. Instead of meal prep being a chore, something I haven't got time for, it's too difficult, can't do. Certainly the clients I work with, we love meal prep. It's the most therapeutic thing that you can do on the weekend. It's an act of self-love and care and nourishment for you and your family. Never mind the fact that it takes 80% of the stress out of the week. If you know what you're going to be eating for dinner, certainly for you and your family, or just you, every night of the week, and also even part of meal prep with the clients I work with is knowing the nights that you're eating out. And then we need to prep for that, because if you go to anything unprepared, it's super likely, particularly if you're stressed or hangry or annoyed or whatever it might be, that you're not going to make the healthiest choice. If you are fully prepared, you will make the best choice to honor you and the outcome that you want and you are dedicated to. Okay, number 9, we're almost there, is double down. So when we get older, we tend to sort of back off things a little bit. Well, I'm getting older, I'm slowing down, it's not so easy for me. And then you're going to hear yourself saying all these excuses to yourself. And then people around you will corroborate that. They'll say, oh yes, I know. Oh my gosh, aches and pains, and it's so hard, isn't it? And it's so difficult, and I haven't got as much energy as I used to. And so then you start creating this whole story of I'm older, it's more difficult, and and subconsciously you start pulling back and slowing down and not doing as much in every sort of area of your life. And now we have so many things around us and distractions that make it even harder, because we can just sit for hours now, like doom scrolling on our phone, right? Or watching hours of Netflix. And all that time, we're like, well, I haven't got time. And I say to my clients, you know what? Let's do a screen time inventory as well. You can see I'm pretty hardcore as a coach. I tell my clients not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear, because I'm so invested in them feeling amazing, getting their health back, feeling strong and vibrant and gorgeous. So a little bit of tough love here, but truly bring back some of that time that you're whittling away now. Did you ever feel better after spending 20 minutes on Instagram? Did you ever come away from that going, yes, I feel amazing, I'm energized, I feel great, I feel so good about myself? Did you? No, neither did I. You feel drained. It's like eating junk food. It's like while it's happening, it feels good, right? Or it's addictive, but then afterwards you're just like, oh, I just feel drained. So you really want to go, no, this is my time now. I'm 50, I'm 60, whatever it is, and I am doubling down and I'm going the extra mile. And the final habit here is I want you to get into the habit of thinking of age-proofing your body rather than I've got to lose weight or I've got to lose belly fat. It's a habit. You'll find this habit, oh, I've got to lose weight, I've got to lose weight, it's a habit. It's an old sort of a groove in a vinyl record that many of you have been saying, because I work with women who have been trying to lose weight for like 30, 40 years of their life, and then they only start being successful when I have a system that changes everything. Which, by the way, you can watch it. I have a little masterclass, free masterclass that you can watch underneath it. But if you look through everything through the lens, just try and flip the mind switch on that to go, every time you catch yourself thinking of that, go, no. It's not that I want to lose weight. If anything, go from I want to lose weight to I want to lose fat. That would be the first thing, right? But even better, go to actually, I just want to age-proof my body. I want to get in the best shape possible. I want to protect my brain, my heart, my breasts, my gut, my bones. Because if you know, and this is what I teach over and over again in my masterclass, it's what I'm passionate about. I teach this every single week, that if you follow evidence-based science, and it has to be, we have to stick to the science. It's not my opinion. It is the latest evidence-based science. But if we stick to the latest evidence-based science about how best practices, best lifestyle to protect your brain, to prevent dementia and Alzheimer's, to protect your heart from the #1 killer for women over 50, heart attack and heart disease, to protect your breast from getting, obviously breast cancer, and so on and so on. If you put those practices first and you follow the evidence-based science, then you will release the fat as a secondary benefit. So that's it. That's what I've got today. Or as usual, my videos are a little bit longer than I want them to be. I'm trying to talk quickly because some women are like, just timestamp get to the point, or you talk way too much. And I do talk too much, but anyway, that's just me. You can unsubscribe if you want to. But, as every YouTuber says, subscribe, share this video with somebody who you think might find it useful. Please do that. Because there's many women out there that are barking down all these paths of, oh, I'm going to take this supplement or do this new diet or, the injections, which, there's a place for medications for some people. But if you know that you can become the CEO of your body, your lifestyle, and you can do it with lifestyle changes, it's so deeply empowering and beautifully healthy, and you're just going to feel amazing. All right, I will see you next time.